You know what? Let's change course for a while and talk about something completely stupid and utterly irrelevant because I find this highly amusing. And I want you guys in the comment section to describe the two individuals in question here. But before we get into that, there is a link down below to another video that I just did where we reveal, and by we, I mean Mr. Medica, reveals the real reason why Kanye West has a problem with the Uden, and it is hilariously funny, and given the fact that I'm not putting it up on YouTube, you can safely assume it is quite spicy. But anyway, I spent a good chunk of yesterday trolling on Discord, and I thought, you know what, this actually might make for some funny content. Now, this all kicked off because of a series of pictures that said, stereotypes are not given, they are earned, and it was of a certain demographic reinforcing that stereotype. And you can probably guess the demographic in question here, as well as the types of pictures. Hanging off the poles in the subway, fighting on the subway, dancing on tables in the classroom, theft, that sort of thing. European ballerina on the one hand, Cardi B on the other. This is a woman that sang about the moisture content of her genitals, so do not tell me all cultures are equal, because that's a complete load of bollocks. So this one guy pipes up. I actually think he's the owner of the server, mind you, and calls this ethnic propaganda, saying the fact that it's missing the degeneracy of white folks misbehaving is telling. This guy is English, by the way, and the series of pictures are from America, naturally. So I snap at this, saying I love how this is ethnic propaganda when your first response to seeing this is an immediate deflection of, oh well, those white people, it's such a cock's cope. I really detest this sort of deflection. Imagine you found a pipe with someone, and it was leaking. And you go, oh, check out this leak. And their first response is, oh man, if you think this is bad, you should check out this other leak over there. Yeah, that's great, dumbass. Now, how about this leak over here? It's so stupid because you don't actually say or do anything to resolve this dilemma. All you have is this bloody diagnostic, Einstein. Would you care to provide us with a solution of some kind, or are you just gonna piss and moan about it? This dude calls it ethnic wank material, and when probed for a solution, his reply is twofold: environmental change and cultural hegemony. Immediately, troll mode is activated in my head, and I am rubbing my hands together with glee. So I say, oh, so uber nationalism is right wing, it's very base. This monkey says it's left wing because it's about the proles and not what the elites want for exploitation fodder. When you hear someone say left-wing, proles, and exploitation, you are starting to see the glimpse of the hammer handle and the tip of the sickle. I tell him that is not left-wing at all, because the idea that the left care about the common man is an absurdity. And he asks me to provide facts. You ever have those moments where someone talks with such brazen arrogance when they ask you to provide facts for something that is so nakedly obvious, you're almost dumbstruck because you're thinking, if you can't see this, you are either a colossal moron or you are so disingenuous this conversation is going to stonewall really fast. Either way, it's a complete waste of your time. I mean, I'm trolling this bloke, so that last part is kind of redundant at this point. I could have given any leftist policy proposals, which all suck, by the way. We know, and we're currently living through some of them, for heaven's sakes. But I was rather flippant given the circumstance, so I asked him if he's ever heard of Erik van Cornel-Leden, which obviously he has not, so he accuses me of being curious and not stating any facts. And he gets kind of mad, as these people tend to when you ask him things they don't know. Rage tends to be the immediate go-to, accusing me of starting drama, which I totally am, but not in the way he's alluding to. I mean, for heaven's sakes, he could have answered no on the Leden one. I could have thrown some quotes at him and asked him his opinion on this, but no, he had to be an irritable wanker, so naturally I must continue. So I tell him the left is driven by envy of the successful, which we all know by now. It doesn't take a genius to note equality is a never-ending spiral, and anything that is superior, bolder, or stronger in any way, shape, or form is going to upset that, so naturally it has to be destroyed. When this is presented to him, the reply is, "This tells me all I need to know, thank you." By the way, I'm fully aware this is the leftist version of my attitude of this is a moron I'm potentially being toyed with here. The difference is I can back up my claims, whereas these people are all weasels. So I ask him, why do you think there are rainbow protests in Qatar, or rather banners being flaunted, by Westerners no less, in Qatar? Took me like 3 bloody minutes to get this tool to answer that freaking question, and the reply of, because people support the rainbow hippies, can't you work that out? That did not exactly satisfy my mischief. So I ask, But why in Qatar? They don't live there. Do you support this? And he bounces back, oh, there is discrimination in these parts because of Islamic jurisprudence. What's the law in Qatar? Which is bollocks to do with his opinion. You can tell he is squirming in the corner, and it takes him almost 10 damn minutes to answer this because he knows this position makes no damn sense. I didn't ask what the law was, only if he thinks this should be allowed. His reply of, oh, the Qatar people have to decide that. If I were them, I would say no. How exactly they would go about voicing their opinion in any impactful manner, especially given that Qatar only had its first general election a year ago, I don't know, he doesn't say. And in a while you might understand why. It was like pulling teeth with this idiot. So I ask, do you think cultural preservation is left-wing when it's done democratically, by the masses, do you? Because in the land of any sane rationality, if you favor environmental change and cultural hegemony, this is going to require some mechanism of manipulation and/or force, as well as some method of preservation to maintain said cultural hegemony. That's obvious. The reply, preservation is not left-wing, it's right. Exactly! So how would you go about maintaining this cultural hegemony? Do tell. With violence and indoctrination. Ding, 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 ding! There it is! There is the mask-off moment I was looking for. When questioned about this now glowingly obvious authoritarian method of running a society, the reply is, happy to hear your liberal alternative. I get the feeling that's kind of disingenuous. I don't know about you guys. I mean, heaven's sakes, liberal alternative. This is from an Englishman, mind you. Worst Englishman I've ever seen, by the way. Right up there with that wanker Owen Jones and every other shithead who's ever been on Novara Media. When questioned about the affiliation of authoritarian, I hear, I would say yes, but the definition would argue no. This shady little bastard, isn't he? And after telling him no, he's definitely an authoritarian, he screams fasci. Apparently, I need to read the definitions after he just told me the definitions would argue no. Oh, but apparently, most people hold these confusing views, but also the definitions don't help. If this isn't stupid enough as it is, this is certainly muddying the waters now, isn't it? When asked, does he support private property? No. So this dude wants the abolition of private property, cultural hegemony, and dictatorial rule via the brutality of indoctrination and violence. When asked, do you wish the state to hold a monopoly on education and to violently enforce it? Yes. I'm sorry, how is this dude any different than Uncle Adolf? Because I've read about the regime change of the Third Reich from the Weimar Republic and its university apparatus overhaul, and this is extremely similar. Throw in some camps and a desire for Lebensraum, and we're pretty much there. Oh, but this is not a nuanced conversation, I am told. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, for once I agree. There's not a lot of room for nuance here, it's very blunt and on the nose, but only to my very odd definition, which most people apparently believe, but is also very confusing. When questioned on how would the state actually function, for example, who provides housing, where would people work and all, right after I called him a 4chan Nazi, mind you, I get told, why are you asking me? Why not go read up on it? And by the way, this mongoloid is not trolling. I've heard this dude talk with people about this, and man, the disconnection from reality is very entertaining. Undoubtedly insane, but very entertaining. I mean, if you advocate for this particular worldview, but your only reply when someone probes you is, go read, you are now in this contradictory position where you appear stuck up your own ass and think everyone is beneath you, which always struck me as a very bizarre position to espouse, that on the one hand you think this person is too stupid to understand you, but they're somehow smart enough to read the literature you supposedly have and arrive hopefully at the same conclusion, how I don't quite understand, but never mind that. But you, having read it, aren't smart enough to break it down and explain it to this person you clearly think is too stupid to talk to you. Can someone please explain to me how that makes any fucking sense? If this is your position, you are either pretentious or an idiot. Either way, it justifies you being trolled. Does he give me any names, books, anything? No, of course not. Only this, and these were his exact words. It would take pages of text, and plenty of people have studied this, given talks about it, and written about it extensively. Care to cite people? No, of course not. The only distinction between myself and others would be in the transition through the democratic mandate, hence why the authoritarian definition is problematic. So, like the Nazis do in the Weimar Republic. So after telling him blankly, no it's not, you're basically just advocating for tyranny by the masses, which is what's been written for freaking centuries now. Democracies devolve into tyrannies of the masses. His reply, that's correct, as opposed to tyranny of the minority or the one. Oh great, so we're just going for tyranny overall. So no private property, but environmental change, cultural hegemony seemingly established and enforced by violence and monopolized state-only educational indoctrination. But this is about the pros and not about what the elites want for exploitation fodder. There are people who actually believe this retarded shit, by the way. Then another guy chimes in, American, total soy boy. He's that guy that actively looks for shit to be offended by. This dude rolled his eyes when I said I like that Elon rules Twitter like a king because he is the CEO and the owner of the freaking company. He was hemorrhaging money when he bought it, and he fired a load of people and many quit, a significant amount of which were women. Which I pointed out, and a lot of the engineers remaining happened to be male, because hello, STEM tends to be dominated by men, because men are more interested in engineering. That is just how we are wired. No. He gives us the cliche patriarchy argument, because in case you guys did not know this, there is a horde of women trying to get into this field, and if only those pesky creatures with a penis would allow them, we'd achieve this gloriously shit-headed morons, peaceful harmony, and all would be right with the world. Remember the picture of the HR on the one side and the engineers on the other from Twitter that went viral? Most engineers are male. If you happen to be a female and you clicked on the yes, let's go hardcore email that Elon sent out and you can pull your weight, you can keep your job. Welcome to Meritocracy. It's not wise to discriminate based off of non-performative qualities, especially if you have competitors that can make use of their talents. Apparently now I'm sexist because I'm implying women don't usually pull their weight, and my comments are dog whistles, which him and his bitch next to him hears, and yes, that is a very clever joke. This guy professes to be a libertarian, by the way, which is bullshit. I asked the Yank, in his ideal society, would you have private property? He says some, but he wouldn't include land. When I finally get his stupid ass to just answer the bloody question of what he constitutes as land, he says he'd want an extreme limit on property sizes. When questioned as to who would decide the size, he says, democracy, which already makes no fucking sense because you can't say, I want extreme limits, but I'm going to put it up to a vote. So naturally, seeing this gaping hole in his plan as well as his pot-smoking head, I ask, what if the democratic will is no size limits? Would you honor the vote? Predictably, of course, he says no, because, and these are his words, voting away democratic process is not democratic. My word, there is so much stupid with everything this idiot says. I tell him yes it is, because democracy is but the system of choice, 'tis the will of the masses. It's a bit of a contradiction to say, I don't want to be ruled by the minority or some monarchical figure, but I'm in the minority in this particular democratic process and I want to overrule the majority. We seem to be at a bit of an impasse here. Secondly, the democratic process is not abolished in this instance merely by the masses voting to have no restriction on the sizes of property. That is but the rejection of the proposal for such restrictions by the will of the people. The main person for whom this desire for the restriction didn't materialize was the arsehole who professed to have the desire for them to begin with, which was him. So naturally, after telling him, if the there is no limit wins, that is not a restriction, that is in fact freedom. So if that is not in your favor, how exactly do you go about imposing the option of limiting the size, which naturally corners him into an impossible scenario where he can't admit he is merely inflicting his will upon the people using something that masquerades as a democracy by presenting the peasants with options he thinks is best for them, being the shadowy authoritarian faggot that he is. His reply, you asked a loaded question in bad faith. No need to respond. I'm not just a toy to be goaded. Yes, you are. Go find a child to insult. As I explained, it would be done democratically. Your refusal is the answer is not a reason to change answers. I don't even know what the hell that last part even meant, by the way. But that's a total dodge. And you know why he won't answer, because he'd have to A, admit he's wrong, and B, that requires thinking. And you know these people are in no way capable of doing that. This is why you don't debate politics on Discord. Far more fun and productive to troll, because at least in this way, you find out who's stupid and who can be toyed with for your own amusement. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.